Welcome to another episode of Press Play and Run with me, your host Ryan Miller. As we edge towards the end of Season 2, it's as busy as ever. There's been a lot going on. I'm going to fill you in as briefly as I possibly can on what's been going on with my own running and preparations for some community events. And then I'm going to take you right into my conversation with Newton Road Runners Club President Joanne Thorburn. I think a combination of the change of seasons and is really heading into autumn in earnest now with the rain starting and it getting a bit cooler, alongside the fact that I'm training for the Davaway 50k Ultra, has seen me over the last week or two just starting to get my head down again in my running and chipping away at the runs, sort of knocking them off in the plan, and I'm really enjoying the structure again of being right back into the sort of bones of a plan. I've managed to hit all my sessions over the last 2 weeks, and I had a long run on Saturday, a 16 miler, so really starting to get those distances back up as well. That was made a bit easier by joining my friend Alison Jardine, Scottish Marathon girl, former guest, part of her long run. She was doing a 22 miler as she prepares for the Yorkshire Marathon, and we also managed a park run sandwich. So we had a park run at Strathclyde Park, which was number 99 for me. So I'm really excited about that, and I think the stars have aligned. And Brody's football's off this weekend, which is going to allow me to get my 100th park run at Strathclyde Park this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that. That was actually one of my big goals for 2023, which would have seen me do a record number of park runs in a year, and we're sort of there already. So delighted with that and can't wait to do that and hopefully see plenty of those familiar faces that I've got to know better over the course of this year at Parkrun. I also managed to make it down to Junior Parkrun at Drumpellier Park on Sunday, so grateful as always to the volunteer and the core team down there. That's really starting to grow in numbers. I've seen 60, 70 kids now every weekend out there running their hearts out, and it's getting super fast as well. With the PB bell ringing in this house as well, with Brody knocking 10 seconds off his Junior Parkrun time. So as you can imagine, he was absolutely made up. I've not really managed to teach him any class and been magnanimous in victory yet. He was sort of strutting around like Cock of the North for the rest of the day, and I know he was just ripping to sort of rub it into Joshua, who also had a fantastic run and beat Brody but didn't PB on the day. Something that has fallen by the wayside this week has been my training for High Rocks, and I didn't manage to get any strength and conditioning in this week, so that's something I need to really be on guard for. Between a busy week at work and prioritising the runs on my plan, I didn't make that session, so it's a habit I definitely don't want to slip into, and from experience I know that it's usually the first thing to go when I feel a bit time squeezed. Something that has been taking my time up though is making final preparations for the run retreat, which is coming up on October the 8th, where we've got 30 members of the Press Play and Run community going to Beach Brae for a strength and conditioning session. For runners, we're going for a group run. There's some cold dipping, there's some brilliant prizes and brilliant support from a lot of big brands and Lululemon. I had a meeting with Jenny, the store manager at Lululemon Glasgow, and I'm so grateful for the support of not only Jenny but our wider team in helping me fine tune these arrangements and actually providing a bit of manpower on the day as well to make sure the event runs smoothly and to allow me to draw on their experience of hosting fantastic events like this. We also had a really good discussion about potentially looking at something new for Lululemon Glasgow in terms of a run with the Wednesday Run Club coming to an end. It's definitely not something I'm going to do in terms of like putting on a weekly run. I think there's a lot on offer in Glasgow currently for social running, particularly around that 5 to 10k range. My thoughts at the moment are more along the lines of like a long run opportunity, maybe the first or last Sunday of each month, something along these lines, because I think there are fewer chances to be engaged in organised long runs or long runs in company unless you're part of an actual run club. I don't see as many chances for that. I don't see as many groups set up to achieve that. So as I said, I'm in the early stages of thinking about this. I'm going to put some stuff out on social media just to gather some thoughts about likely levels of interest, but it wouldn't take too much for me to sort of organise that, put that out there, begin the run at Lululemon and devise sort of routes that would allow people to opt in for, let's say, 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles as the spring marathon training sort of kicks off in earnest in the new year. So the routes would definitely need to be something I think that would allow for people to opt in and opt out at different points. So we would maybe pass the store more than once, we would maybe pass a central point more than once, so that you could do potentially half of the distance or the full distance. So that's sort of where my head's at with it right now. Nothing's fleshed out, but I had a really good conversation with Jenny, and we really want to make something happen where Lululemon sinking right into that run community in Glasgow with something starting and potentially finishing at the store as well. The other big thing that's happened is that I've got my charity raffle live. So I put that up through the week and ticket sales have already started going well. So many great prizes on offer. If you've not seen the raffle, you can see it at the Press Play and Run podcast page on Instagram or in the Press Play and Run Club on Facebook. You'll find all the details there of all the fantastic prizes, and there are more being added all the time. So a big thank you to GSI Events, who have gifted a free entry to the Edinburgh Marathon Festival for whichever distance the winner would prefer to run. And we've also added a sports massage there. As I said, I've got a number of brands who are still coming through at the moment, but there's a whole host of prizes on offer. Tickets are £5 per entry, and I'm looking to make the draw the week after the run retreat. So I'm going to leave it open for a few weeks, and I've got my fingers crossed that that helps to take me to my sort of minimum target for Place to Be charity for London Marathon, which will allow me to get my head down and concentrate on the running when that planned time comes, and everything else from that point on is a bonus. I've been absolutely overwhelmed by not only the personal support that I've had through Instagram and through Facebook and the running community, but also through that brand support. A number of partnerships that we will definitely keep going through the podcast to offer listeners and members of the Press Play and Run Club member benefits, because these brands want to work with us. They're delighted with the level of engagement that they're seeing in and around the podcast and the raffle, and you're going to hear a bit more about that. Potentially maybe some sponsored episodes coming up, because I want to reciprocate that support that I've had for brands, and I want to get out there basically the brands that are helping to support everyday runners in the community. They don't have to do it. Of course, they stand to gain something from it, but there are people out there with much bigger profiles than this one, so I am eternally grateful for it and really looking to give a wee bit back on that front. As usual, I'm going to keep this bit short and snappy because I really want to get to my chat with Joanne. The Newton Road Runners 10K is something that you're going to hear about during this episode, and you might have seen on Instagram that we're doing a giveaway for that race as well. So that's going to be drawn to coincide with this episode launching, and the winner will be announced on Friday the 22nd of September. Thanks again to everybody that entered that, and it's really helped to spread the word of the cat race, and you're going to hear just why that's so important to the club. So without further ado, I'm going to take you over to my conversation with Joanne. I'm going to thank you for listening to this little bit of preamble as always, and urge you, as usual, to get your trainers on, get out there, press play and run. In this episode, I'm joined by somebody I've become accustomed to chasing around the streets of Newton and Cambuslang. As president of Newton Road Runners, she keeps the ship on course and manages to keep her own running and training at a consistently high level, even if you won't find her shouting from the rooftops about it. I'm delighted today to welcome to Press Play and Run, Joanne Thorburn. Welcome, Joanne. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Ryan. How are you?
Joanne, you're obviously somebody I've got to know much better over the last 8 months, 9 months since I joined Newton. It feels like much longer than that, but we've been planning this episode in the background for quite a while, but we wanted to tie it in with the upcoming Newton Road Runners 10K race, which we're going to get to later. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being patient and waiting as well.
No, thanks for having me.
You're well known in our local running community. I've seen that at park runs when I've been with you and things. A lot of people know you there, but I'm not sure how much wider than that, because I know what I do is go into people's Insta and have a wee creep to look at their running, and I go into yours and you don't see much about your running, you don't share that much, and I think I probably know some of the reasons why, but I'm going to leave that to you to tell me a wee bit more about. So I'm interested because I probably don't know as much about your backstory as I know about your current running, which I know more of and will share. So I just want to start, as we always do, if you can walk me through the sort of beginnings of your running journey.
So I've been running now for roughly about 11 years, because after I had my second child, I put on a major ton of weight. I was going to kind of Zumba classes, MetaFit, and I did enjoy it. However, it was trying to squeeze in round about kids full time. It was quite a tricky task. I decided to go out running. And it's not that I was an absolute novice to running. I was a runner at school, very competitive, did cross country, did all the county sports, MD members, all those many years ago, giving away my age. I was always quite a distance runner, which wasn't common at kind of school age. Everybody really wants 100-metre sprints, but I was 800 metres straight away, anything that had a bit of stamina. I came from a martial arts background. That's what I always did when I was young, trained a lot of martial arts. I think that's something that gave me that stamina. I had done it at school, and I didn't have the same chances maybe as a child. Just mum and dad didn't drive. I didn't really have the opportunity to join an athletics club. Didn't really have the money either. So I did do martial arts because my brother did it, and it was two for the price of one, so that's what worked. But I did always love running. Then through time, as you get, become an adult and you're working full time, and I'd go to the odd fitness class, but really fell away, from running, and then obviously picked it back up after having the kids and loved it. My husband was into running as well, so we'd go out, if we could, running together. He was going to be doing his first marathon as well, which totally inspired me to even up the distance up to half marathon.
And was that like 11 years ago? Like, is that when you're talking? When he was getting ready for marathons and you still weren't running?
He was probably did his first marathon, his marathon about 9 or 10 years ago. Kind of just ran a wee bit, like kind of 5k, maybe up to 10k. And it was once he started following a training plan and being a lot more stricter about his running, that's what kind of got me a bit more kind of competitive in myself, and signed up for the women's 10k, and I'm like anything under an hour. So actually, I think it was like 52 minutes or something. So there was already that kind of pace was there. And then I was like, well, I'm going to do the half now that I've did that. So that's where it kind of came from. So, and then I just loved running myself, my music on. It was me time away from the kids. Obviously, I had two kids that were, there's 2 years apart. So it was quite intense as they were 2 and 4, 3 and 5, that kind of age. So it was the one thing that I loved.
So you've got a bit of that headspace thing, which I think a lot of us can identify with if you've had kids especially close together in age. Just getting out of the house for an hour sometimes is like all the motivation you need. It sounds like there was a wee bit of a competitive drive probably in you from what you did when you were young, maybe through the martial arts, through the running. Not to say pace, but I have seen that with your running. There is like when you go to run, especially in competitions, you want to run well, you want to represent yourself well. Has that thread always been there from competing?
Yeah, definitely. I've always had this kind of competitive nature. I don't try and kind of undersell myself and over deliver, I would always say, because every race I turn up, I'll say, I'm not going to go for it today, but I'm going for it.
I've heard you on a Tuesday night, never mind at a race, in it. I know. I think that's something that a lot of us do. I think that's self-preservation as well, though, isn't it? It's like, I'm not really going for it today, i.e. I hope I have a good run. I just don't want to actually nail my colours to the mast and say sub whatever.
I know the difference is people can tell because they'll know with your footwear whether you're going for it or not. So they'll look at you and go, you're not going for it, well, why are you wearing those trainers?
I'm not going for it in my Vaporflies today. Totally. But there's a nice, I think, in the club in Newton Road Runners, where I'm a member and you're club president, there's a sort of healthy mixture of that competition at the right times, but then we've got people there every week that are just not driven by that whatsoever, and they're driven by different aspects of it. Has that helped you develop like an easier pace when you're meant to, rather than battering yourself all the time?
Absolutely, particularly when I'm following a training plan. There's people I can pick out in the club at who I would want to go for certain sessions to run with. One, I'm terrible for, taking it easy, the slower runs. As much as I think I'm going to go out and do that, you naturally fall into this kind of pace. But there's people I'm happy, go and enjoy it and run with them, catch up with them. So, and then in the other way, when I'm wanting, I push myself in a tempo run, I've got plenty to choose from to go out and run with then as well. So definitely that is the beauty of the club, where we do have such a wide range of paces.
And some people will never particularly want to push themselves or race, but they do it for different reasons, and it's really good to have that there. So I'm interested to know about the leap from that part of your beginning again, running, and then Newton Road Runners coming into play.
We always kind of gauge it. It was my youngest born 2011, and I get into running in 2012. Again, maybe twice a week. I would run 3 times a week. And then Newton Road Runners started. It wasn't Newton Road Runners, it was just a running club, but it was UK Run Chat, actually. And my next door neighbour, Amanda, had joined with another mummy friend that she'd met, Jacqueline, who's actually one of the coaches. So they had joined, and then she'd say to me, because she knew I already ran, she says, oh, we've joined this running club. And I'm going, oh no, I don't run with people. I just quite like my music and just me time. No. Anyway, she can encourage me, and I thought, right, I'll go. And Jacqueline will laugh at this story because she's like, oh, Amanda's bringing her neighbour. She's going to not want to hang about with me. And then obviously I went because I already ran. I ended up running a lot, kind of faster than them. So I think Jacqueline was like, oh, that's absolutely fine then. Joanne's
she can do her thing.
I wasn't stealing her pal away from her. So yeah, I did go. I was a bit kind of daunting thought, is like everybody says, about going to a running club, because even as much as I ran, you still have no clue, what pace. And It was March. It was dark. I remember, and there was all these new faces, but everybody was in the same boat because it was a
Yeah.
brand new club. So it wasn't like you're going to join something that's already well established. Everybody was just kind of getting to know each other, and then absolutely loved it.
I like that because we've had Jenna on. So Jenna, who started the club, was one of the very first episodes of this podcast. I think it might have been episode 2 or 3. And so we've already had one perspective of the beginning of Newton Roadrunners, but you'll have a different perspective. Naturally, Jenna was already very well connected in the run community, even though that's a new thing. But you're getting the experience that most of our members will have, which is rocking up for your first night. Now, albeit I think different because, as you said, everybody's new. So that's daunting in itself. I would argue it's even more daunting to turn up now when I think people's fear is that, oh no, everybody knows each other. They're all pals. Because you don't have the understanding that people dip in, dip out. There's new people all the time. But does that
Absolutely.
perspective help you as club president now to think about the culture of what we do as a club?
Totally. And I learned loads from Jenna, because that's the one thing I would say is that kind of joining. Jenna's, infectious personality made you feel really welcome, as though everybody can do this. There wasn't that elitist feeling or anything. Jenna, just her big bubbly personality, made you feel so welcome, and whatever you did was brilliant. And I think the way Jenna, started the club and the way she welcomed people, we became really quickly a big group of friends as well. So that's something that we've continued with Newton Roadrunners. And, I learned, obviously, just the way Jenna kind of conducted herself as president, and making people feel so welcome, that I've just continuing
Yeah.
that legacy.
We'll come on to sort of when you picked the mantle up there, because I don't want to skirt over your own running to that point. There's a lot will have happened between then. I don't know, because like I'm saying, I'm looking through your Insta and there's not much of a backstory there in terms of your running, so it's not easy for me to see. I'm interested in when these bigger set piece events started for you then, because you're back in, you've got the competitive edge. Racing will have started locally or not, but when did it start kicking up from something that was 2 or 3 times a week then to training for something, training with a structured plan? And what was the sort of key events along the way? What were the set pieces early?
Well, it was quite a kind of natural progression. So when I joined the club, I was at kind of half marathon distance, and even that was just like an almighty task that I'd thought. But soon enough, being at the club and being with Jenna, as I say, totally infectious, encouraging you, you can do this, you can do this. She was doing her first marathon the year that the club began in 2016. She was in Manchester. Well, the following year, she encouraged me to do Stirling
Okay.
with her. I thought, can I even do a marathon? All that kind of stuff. But before I knew it, I mean, I did get an absolute shock in their first like 19, 20 mile run to Pollock, and crying on the way back. I can't do this. Everything. It was like, for somebody that I think even Jenna was like, you'll be okay. You'll be okay because you can run fast times and whatever. I
Yeah.
get an absolute shock at the difference doing those long runs. So I would say 2017 was where it really began, where it was marathon each year, half marathons, really going for these PBs. Always put in for London just because
Yeah.
everybody does. It was like one day I'd quite like to do that, watching the TV, but actually now, as much as London is fabulous, I just love actually training for a marathon, and because I know it helps every other distance, and I think I love structure. I'm a
Yeah.
very structured person. But talking about the social media part, you were saying about Instagram, I actually only got Instagram maybe about a year and a half ago, maybe
Yeah.
2 years ago, and the reason I got it was because Newton Roadrunners were going to go on Instagram, so I thought, for me to try and encourage it
Yeah.
and like things, that's why I joined it. I'm not a big social media person, don't really like talking about
No.
myself. I've said this to you before, I'm very much a
Yeah.
face-to-face person. I love chatting to people I know, but I'm slowly but surely, getting into the social media, and I'm loving all the running things that I'm and
Yeah.
tips and reading other people's stories. I'm actually coming round to that idea.
It can be a great thing. It can also be a distraction to your actual running. It depends what I suppose you let it be, but you also do the same job that I've done in the past, and that's never easy, maintaining a social media presence, because it's just not. You're in a public facing job and all of that stuff as well. But I'm glad the club do have the social media thing, because I don't know if without it I would have ever got there, if that makes sense. Like, I'd seen already Newton Roadrunners visibly on Instagram before I knew anybody involved. And then it was meeting, I think, Jenna at you guys did the Scarecrow Festival, like not last year. but I already knew some faces, and I knew one or two runners from park runs as well, but that was all through social media. So I'm not sure without that if I would have even started the conversation. I don't think I would have just rocked up and went, oh hi, like I'm such and such. Do you know what I mean? So I think
I
that
know.
is, like it, loathe it, or whether we're coming round to it or not, it's going to be the way that a lot of people find what you do.
Oh, absolutely. And that things have progressed so much that social media, and I do think more people actually are a bit more comfortable chatting through social media to one another than face to face. I'm probably just one of the real old school people that still just love the
Yeah.
right good chat to the face. But no, I'm definitely coming round to it, and it's definitely the way of the world. And obviously having teenage kids, and I need
Aye,
to be
absolutely.
yeah,
It'll
on top
find
of
you whether
it.
you like it or not. Tell me about the first
Yeah.
marathon then, Stirling 2017. What was the experience like?
The experience was absolutely horrendous. Um,
Good, good. That makes me feel so much better.
up to I would say mile 19, I'm like, this is okay, this is fine. And this old route, a Stirling marathon, you get to mile 19, you're hitting the city centre of Stirling, loads of support, brilliant, feeling great. This is all right. Anyway, this time you did 3 laps to finish, so you went by the finish line 3 times.
Yeah.
Um, after the first time, that's by this time you're maybe mile 21, dying, walk, jog all the way to the end. I was well on track for sub 4 hours, ended up with 4 hours 8. Up until mile 19, I had a great experience. It was a great route, went into lovely wee villages, like I think it was like Doon and all the supporting these wee areas when it's still in uni. I did really enjoy all that part of the experience, but those the last 7 miles that just were torturous. Torturous.
It's just such a culture shock.
Yeah.
Like that's I found it at Edinburgh last year. You know the work. I know the work you will have put in because I know how much you value the discipline and the structure and the turning up and getting it done. But there's nothing to prepare you for just those last, I don't know what, the 6 miles, seven
Mm-hmm.
miles, and especially as you're saying, there's something mental like having to do 3 loops of the same bit,
Yeah.
or in Edinburgh going out and back around that country estate park. It's like no man's land. I felt like I was in there for days, and you're like, how can this be? Because I've done all these 20 milers and it's meant to be good, and but that was my experience. I'm so glad it was grim for you. That makes me feel better.
I know, and I was a complete novice. I didn't have a watch. I had no running watch. I had no earphones.
God, imagine.
I just ran. I thought listen to Jenna's experience. You'll chat to people on the way. I didn't know everybody I saw had earphones. I thought, well, nobody's want to talk, and I've not got my earphones. So I literally just had to grin and bear it. And once I started walking, I'd find other people walking near the end, and I would get a chat then. But it's too late. I needed somebody to kind of get me through that. But yeah, I had no idea about pace or anything I was doing. I think it was Map My Run was the app that I used back then. I had that in my phone in my pocket, but no earphones, nor nothing. I don't even
Joanne,
know if I had gels. I don't even know if I had gels. If I did, I certainly probably wasn't
probably
using
eating
them properly.
digestives, just eating digestives on the way around.
No clue what I was doing.
Joanne, let's be honest, right? At the start of a marathon, MD's up for a chat because you're excited. By mile 20, nobody wants to listen to your pish,
I know.
unfortunately. Except maybe the poor people walking beside you at the end going, right, I'm stuck with you, we may as well have a wee quick chat. So what happens after 2017 then with your running? Did you get straight back on the marathon horse, or
Yeah,
did that leave a bit of scar tissue?
no, absolutely not. If anything, it just absolutely fired me with determination to really master this marathon distance, because there was so much, good things I did take away from it. So much I'd learned. One, I got a watch so I could pace it properly. I probably started way too fast, and that's probably part of the reason I died. However, I just know that the benefit from going from one first marathon to second marathon, you will slash minutes off it. So trained definitely so much better. Every other distance get faster. I definitely get fitter, and obviously this is me years after having the kids now. I'm in a much better routine, so I trained for it. Signed up for Edinburgh the following year,
So
and
2018 Edinburgh.
2018 took 20 minutes. I went 3:49. I got my sub four
Yeah.
hours. Really enjoyed the whole experience. Didn't die. That I would say is one of my biggest highlights was probably that marathon, just because it wasn't just about the time. It was how I felt and how much
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And do you know what's funny? I had the fancy watch. I had the earphones. I met a guy and ran with him for about 11 miles, 12 miles.
Found somebody to talk to?
Chatted, had switched my earphones off. It was brilliant. The guy was just exact same pace. We came out that Gosforth house together, continue going. Then he met his son who was walking, and he stopped at mile 23 to help the son. But otherwise, that was a big win, meeting someone, pacing it probably much better. That was me. Loved it. I'm like that. When am I doing my next marathon?
So two things there then. One, I take it back, there's always somebody that will listen to your pish apparently, although he did stop to walk at 23. And the second thing is he's a much better father than I am, because I'd be running by giving my son the fingers and going, see you later, beat you. The competitive bit in me would just be buzzing to beat my boys. So 2017, 2018, 2 marathons. Have you been practically on a marathon a year cycle since then?
Yep, then did Edinburgh again, 2019. I did that one because I encouraged friends in the club to do their first marathon. My friend Annette did her first one. She says she'll never do another one, and she, true to her words, she's not doing another one. But she still loves it. She's managed to do that one. So did Edinburgh again in 2019, and then obviously after that it was COVID for a couple of years, and then wanted London again. Kept putting in this ballot. Decided, right, I've got it within me to get the good for age, because in 2018 I got the sub 350. However, I wasn't 40 then, I was only 39. So over the age of 40 for female, it was under 350. So I decided I would go for it after COVID and get that good for age for London. So trained really hard. But this time there was more people who joined the club that were into, training for marathons. My friend Beth, me and her trained together. She was doing Edinburgh, and Craig Lawton. So very similar pace to me. So absolutely perfect. We all kind of trained together those big long runs. So the long runs didn't seem as such a big monotonous task or overthinking it, because we've actually got a nice wee marathon lap area down the Clyde Path, did it together. So actually the training was much better. And then I got the time that I wanted. I decided I would go for 3:45 to give me a wee bit of kind of buns in case, I already know those last few miles can take it out of you. So decided to go for 3:45, and then as the training get better, did similar to you, the A goal, B goal.
Yeah.
So decided to go for 3:40, and I ended up with 3:41. So, and I've got to kind of really thank Peter Alexander, because I told him mile 23 going to meet me to get me those last couple of miles. And sure enough, he did come and meet me. It was mile 24. And I did need somebody for that wee last mile and a half to keep me going. And it was great because the whole load of the club did the half that year. And they were all there supporting near the end, which was brilliant. So it was actually just an amazing day to be part of and getting that time.
Are you club president already at this point?
Yes.
When was that? What year?
3 years ago, so 2020.
2020.
Just at lockdown.
So that would have been, so that would have been your first marathon after that?
Yeah, it was.
So how has the club membership changed between those early days? Maybe I'm asking two questions, one in number and size, but also, I dare say at the start, when you're starting off a running club like that and it's almost social based, you would have struggled to find big groups to help you with marathon training. When did that transition take place? Has it just been over time, or did you get a glut of people who were starting to think about marathons?
No, I think actually when the club started, the only person that was a marathoner was Jenna, because she was training for her first one at Manchester, and then there's another girl, Liz, who joined. She actually did a few marathons. So I think just through time, as the club evolved and more kind of attracted, people that were already runners. I think the initial part when people joined, it was people just getting into running, but there wasn't still, even from that first couple of weeks, there was still a big variation in paces. Like Joanna Wallace was there right at the very beginning, who already was a runner before the club. So there was a real mixture right from day one, where it was like people just walk, jog, to people that were, could run fast, 5-10 Ks. So definitely in the next couple of years, more and more marathoners.
Yeah.
Probably not that many until I would say this year, the amount we had doing Edinburgh and London, and even looking at next year. So, but I think it's that culture in the club where everybody thinks, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
That's what I was just about to ask you. You preempted that. I was going to say there, what causing that? Is that just wait a minute, I've been running with that person and they can. But we've also got people now joining to train for a marathon, like as not their first race, but their first race with us, if you like, is to kick on a level.
definitely. And I think I was saying that encouragement, just when you're running with people, you're saying you can do it. Just say, oh, I don't think I could train for it. And I'll say, well, what do you think you would need to do? And then actually explain. If you want, yeah, get a kind of good for each London time, yeah, you're going to have to, 5, 6
Yeah.
times a week and, do, but you can do a marathon training 3, 4 times a week if you've, got a structured plan. And obviously you've just got a pocket of time where you've got those really long runs and it's tiring and, you're eating and you're tired and all that kind of stuff, but it's not as big a task. I think people had this kind of thought perception that to do a marathon, you've got to be training all these,
You need
five,
you
six
need to
times a
be
week.
elite.
Absolutely. And I think just in the club now, you're working full time, you're a mum, whatever, you can do it. You don't need to be just an elite athlete to do them. And regardless of the time, it's an amazing achievement to do that distance.
And how much of a challenge then for you as the club president and the coaches is it to maintain that culture of probably what I think defines Newton in that it's not Jog Scotland. I would say it's a not to disparage anyone that does Jog Scotland. That's a great thing if that's what you want from your running. But neither is it like the Harriers where everybody's out, fixated on time, structured sessions 3 times a week or whatever. Newton's got a nice niche right in the middle. How difficult is it though to keep that structure so that everybody can get from it what they need? Where you've got this group that are starting to kick on now, looking at
Mhm.
marathons, good for age times because that's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, at times it can be tricky when you're managing routes and distances when you've got quite a diverse group. The one thing I would say is the club sets out, it's got 3 sessions a week. So I usually make all 3, and then my marathon training, then you've got to do your long runs or your tempo runs. You need to kind of do that independently. Or the good thing about the club, it's more than just these sessions. You're connecting with people that you can then go on and meet out with club nights to do these other sessions to support you. But on the actual, like Tuesday night, for example, sometimes that can be trickier, not so much in the summer because it's just more safety when we've got, at times it can be like 60 runners.
Yeah.
And you've got, maybe 12-minute miles, and then you've got people that are 7.5-minute miles, and trying to kind of
Get everything in between.
accommodate, and you want everybody to get what they want out of their session, but at the same time, we also want to make sure everybody's safe, everybody's accounted for, get that responsibility. So it does take a bit of planning, but we used to have like 3 different groupings, and the club actually, it worked well because of COVID with a group A, B, and C. We met at different areas because obviously we were restricted by numbers, but that did work really well at one point. But then people became maybe a bit pigeonholed,
Yeah.
and didn't want to leave their friends to move up to the next group, which we run maybe a bit faster, a bit further. So we did alter it, and made it 2 distances now. We also changed the being able to join Newton Road Run, not being able to join, but basically we just ask that you can already jog a 5k regardless of the kind of time, but we just don't have the time to be able to do walking, like
Yeah.
that kind of, we have
And
done.
that's where I think I would differentiate it from a Jog Scotland, where you will
Yeah,
usually find like a group that are building to 5k. That's not that's probably not the club at the moment. That's not where, because that takes time, resource. It's if you can jog 5k, you can definitely, no matter your pace, you'll find somebody that will run with you.
absolutely. And the good thing, the Cambuslang area, there is the Harrier group, there is a Cambuslang Jog Scotland, and there's us. So there is, depending on the type of runner you are, and where you're at in your running journey, there's something for everybody in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And we would welcome, people, if they want to kind of try and improve in some way. Or the one thing, we're a very sociable group, everybody knows us as. We do socialise together after races. We do
You mean
like,
drunk, don't you? You mean you're a very drunk group?
but that's the biggest thing that I love about the running club. Remember, I says, well, I just like running for myself and my quiet music time and all that kind of stuff. I had no idea that joining a running club could actually bring you about a whole, basically, new family. My best friends are now my running friends. My kids are friends with my running friends' kids. We go on holidays together. We socialise. Like, it's amazing that my husband doesn't. He's been to the club before, but he's also friends with the other running husbands and running wives and stuff like that. So it is,
The running widowers.
yes, it is more than a running club.
I think I've probably said it on here 100 times. It's like if you're looking to join a club, that's the kind of culture that's going to appeal to me. There is a club, I think you've hit the nail on the head though. There's something for everybody. There is Jog Scotland. You've got that type club. You've got your Harriers if you're really, really about performance at the top
Yep.
level all the time.
Yep, you want to do track races and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's there for you.
But this is a group that can knit together something where you're getting much more than just the running from it. There's a social aspect to it, and that is absolutely the unique selling point. But how do you keep your personal running at the forefront of this when being the club president of anything comes with, too strong a word here, but internal politics, right? You're dealing with issues. I've done this through like being a football coach for my boys' football and stuff. It starts off as one thing, and before you know it, then you've got parents to deal with, or you've got other adults, or you've got people's feelings to deal with. How do you keep your running at the centre when you've got those extra things to deal with?
Having the committee as the club and being the president, I feel quite fortunate. I've got a really good group of people, not a particularly big group. We used to before loads of people would have opinions and we would kind of act upon them. It's quite a small committee group to just try and, get the club working in terms of routes, cross country, awards nights. People can always come up with loads of different ideas, but now that the club's been going for 7 years, there's lots of things that we've tried, tasted, learned from. So I've, as I say, I learned so much from Jenna when she was president. Things that she'd be like that. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. We should have done it like that. So again, I'm just letting it tick along and letting it evolve as it naturally does, without having what to change the world, because we don't need to, because see what we've got, it's working.
Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should. So if you keep it fairly basic but running really well, it's obviously it's ticking along nicely now.
Absolutely. And as far as for my own running, I still feel like I want to be a role model to the members. I want to show that, you can work in a full-time stressful job, you've got kids. I know everybody juggles things differently. Some people find it harder to do everything, but I just like to show, well, I can do it. I also, just as I say, actually love running.
So and that does sit at the centre. It does.
And it's not that every time it's all about competitiveness and, for races, it's just part of my actual routine now. So as you know, I can turn up to park run rather hungover. It doesn't stop me because it's part of my routine.
Joanne's a master of hungover running.
Absolutely. I can run with a hangover. I'm fine. I don't need to lie about it.
No, not only do you run with a hangover, I've actually heard you planning runs for a hangover. So, like most people run with a regrettable hangover, that night get carried away, whereas you're saying to me, well, I'm going to do a long run. Do you fancy it next Sunday? Because I'll be hungover. So it'll be this many miles. I'm like, that's quite impressive. The fact that you've got the commitment to plan a hangover and still run is wild to me, because I can't do it.
Yeah, no, definitely I can. Sometimes the best runs have been hangover runs, to be honest.
Lies. Absolute lies.
Fueled by Prosecco. Apart from that Kilmarnock 10K when Member the Sun and I'd been at a gala day all day the day before. That was not a great choice.
If you'd had a shovel that day, you would have dug a hole and just lay down in it.
Yeah, that was not my best choice that time.
And you celebrated a big park run milestone just 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I've hit my 100. It was surprisingly, because people, I think, were surprised that it's just 100, but my first one was back in 2016, I think, with the club. But my kids were really young, husband working a Saturday, so I never got. It was very few and far between, and it's just more in recent past couple of years I've managed to make it all the time, and I love it. I love park run. I love brilliant. The social aspect, and it's good now. We've kind of come up with the club. We've all got our different preferences. I know a wee group of the guys love Drumpelia. I love Strathclyde and Tollcross. The two would be always, my choice. But we all meet at London Road, Costa now, because that's quite a kind of wee central point, regardless of what one you go to. And so we can then still meet up for a coffee.
I actually stole that from Newton through this sort of podcast. You're in the group actually on Facebook now.
Yep.
I stole just the same thing where you stick the poll up on Facebook on maybe like the Thursday, Friday, where's everybody going, because it saves that whole, everybody has to, it's like trying another thing you don't need to organise. You just need to say where you're going, go where it suits you, but there'll be faces to look out for, and it just works so much better than trying to shoehorn everybody into the same park run. So it's nice that can happen.
And it's the opportunity to share lifts, car share as well. People, maybe husband's using the car, or me maybe get a hangover and can't drive the next morning, we can sort out car sharing. So
Yeah.
it is good that there's that communication, that we all know kind of where we're going.
Well, it was great. It was great to see you getting that milestone. We were obviously volunteering that day
Yes.
with the podcast, so it was nice to celebrate your 100th and Craig Lawton's 65th birthday the same day. That was always a joy. He'll be driving somewhere down some M something when he hears that, and I'm delighted. So, Craig, I hope you're raging. Thanks for that. On to sort of current running then. You're training for. We're both doing London. We're both doing London in April.
Well, I hope I'm doing London. The Good for Age hasn't actually opened. I think it's the end of September now. It's been put back and put back.
Why is that?
I don't know, because last year the Good for Age found out on the same day as the big ballot, whereas they did the ballot much earlier this year. It's normally round about October that everybody hears, but it's been different this year. Anyway, the hotel's booked, and the hope.
Yeah. And you've got a buffer. You've got a nice buffer between your Good for Age time and what the cut-off is.
Yes, because I did have an amazing run at London.
Yeah, tell me about it, because that was only last year, so tell me about that experience.
It was an amazing experience in the sense of just going to London with my husband and the kids as well. We've never been to London together, so to get that, obviously I'd got it for my Good for Age, and then I thought, I'm determined I want a PB at this. This is the biggest.
What was the PB at that time going in?
A PB was 3:41. That got me there. So I thought go for under 3:40, then adjusted it to 3:35, and then I thought 3:30. Then you just go for the 3:30. So I trained the hardest I've ever for that one. I did go up to 6 times a week training.
I watched it. I ran with you obviously a lot through that spell, getting ready for my first one, and your consistency was impressive.
Yeah, I did really stick to this plan. I kind of follow an app, however, just because I'm a qualified coach with Scottish Athletics, I've got the knowledge to be able to adapt to suit. So within the app that I use, just keeps me on track for, maybe how quick I'm up in the distance for the long runs. But I kind of stick with what's planned for me. It's a Monday night session, which is a speed session, which Simon, that coaches us for it, gets a wealth of experience and knowledge. So he does 1K reps, 800 metre reps, whatever it is he's doing, no matter what, it's going to benefit me, and it's going to be for my marathon training. I could go and follow a plan where it says, that week I had to do 1K reps, and that's not what he had planned. Yeah. I know if I went and did the 1K reps myself, there's no way I'm putting the same effort into them than what if he's got 800 metres, because he does absolutely push you to the stage where he'll tell you, if you're not sick, you're not trying hard enough.
And so do the other people there, because there's enough people in that. So Monday night, for people that are thinking, maybe from the club and listen to this and have never been, or thinking about joining, Monday is a speed session, interval session, and they are the ones that you're very unlikely to do yourself, especially as a intermediate novice type runner. But chasing other people made such a difference to me there. Like I'm now running side by side with people that when I first started, I was just seeing their heel and their heels and their bum for like months trying to catch them. But that's what pulls you on, undoubtedly.
Yeah. And what's lovely, I think, about a Monday night session is the people that go to it. It's welcome, everybody in Newton Road Runners is welcome to it, but the people that generally regularly turn up come from Cambuslang Harriers, Newton Road Runners, and Calder Glen Harriers. So it's a right mixture of clubs.
Yeah.
Simon puts on, it's not just for Newton Road Runners or just for Cambuslang Harriers. It is a total mixture, which I think is really good, that we get to share experiences and work with people for other clubs. So I
and
love
Simon's there with his whistle. It's like watching Kes, the film Kes. He's just there, big grumpy, shouting at you, whistle. It's like a throwback to the 80s, but that's exactly what you need when you're feeling like stopping, isn't it? He'll get you a bit of abuse on every loop.
I think the line I regularly hear is, suck it up.
Exactly. It's like I never even said anything. He's like, I can see your face.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, it's great. They're great sessions. So London, that experience, I saw a couple of pictures of you at the expo and stuff, but this is where you're a nightmare for. You don't share a lot on there. I looked and you've got like one London picture and it's from the expo. But I've spoken to you. Tell me about the.
I'm a bigger Facebook person, so I do put a lot more.
So that's great if your gran happens to be looking for what you're doing in your running, Joanne, right? But if anybody under Craig Lawton's age is looking, Insta's where it's at. So tell me about the experience between expo and run, like just atmosphere and stuff.
So arrived the Friday night, got up early to go to the expo on Saturday. I was fortunate enough, there was quite a few of us from the club. So one of the girls, Karen, that goes on a Monday night, met her and Craig Lawton, who is my regular training partner. We met and went to the expo, had a great experience. Obviously, just for like a kid in a sweetie shop, just want to buy all the stuff. Pictures, I got my UFOs, I got the 2/4 zips, I got the t-shirt, everything that was going, because I thought I might never do this again. It was honestly the ultimate experience. We went really early, so it was busy, but not hectically busy. So I would totally recommend that. I mean, obviously, it's open from I think the Thursday or something. If you're down, you're fortunate enough to get down. Obviously, the days probably even better, but restricted teacher times.
Yeah, my plan is to go on the Friday this year.
Yeah, so we went the Friday night and then went the Saturday morning to that, and it was absolutely perfect. And then went into the town and during the day, and I'm like trying want to sightsee. However, I can do lots of steps, try to rest. Also, I'm not want to waste it for the kids because they want to see everything. So, come up with the best idea. We went on the river taxi thing.
Yeah.
So I could plank my backside down, and we could see all the sights: the London Eye,
Right
Big
down the
Ben,
Thames.
right down the Thames. And I was also super nosy to see where the start was because I was staying in Victoria, so I was staying near the finish. So we got off down at where the London Marathon starts, which is Greenwich. Get off the boat there, had a wee wander. What a beautiful wee kind of village. Reminded me a bit kind of West End of Glasgow sort of thing. Had a nice wee wander, got to see sights there, so where the start line it was going to be. So that was good. And then we just jumped in the train back and then had a lovely meal with a couple of Newton Road runners, which was brilliant. We'd already booked that, me, Ross and Craig and the partners. And the kids, and then we had our dinner, then walked down to the finish line just to burn off a wee bit of the pasta, pictures at Buckingham Palace, so the big finish. So that just filled me with total excitement.
Yeah.
So the prep and everything, had just went, ate, drank as much as I possibly could to give me the best chance. Got up nice and early, went and met Craig for the start. People say they'd like to be near the start to walk. I absolutely loved where I stayed. And I had to commute to the start because see that train journey, listening to everybody,
Atmosphere,
listening
soaking
to
it in.
stories. Everybody's the same. Ended up met this guy. So I walked up with this other guy because me and him were on the same start. We were in the same bus lorry. I got him in Strava. He got his sub 4 hours that he wanted.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and everybody's just so happy. The organisation is unreal. Portaloo queues, no bother. There's that many of them.
Yeah.
Everybody's so friendly, happy, all the volunteers. I thought,
Just a well-oiled machine.
I was just absolutely loving it, just waiting for my wave to start. And even the wave to start, it's like you're getting walked up. Honestly, it's a dead surreal feeling.
Yeah. Were you nervous? Did you have that like sort of nervous buzz?
I had totally excited, nervous. I was like, come on, I'm
I
ready
see,
for
that's
this.
good. I'd be a bit worried that I get amped up to the point where you're burning, like emotionally burning through energy. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally wasn't. I was like smiling, talking. What time are you going for? When did you get to get? Just honestly, other people were maybe not quite me. They were kind of maybe quiet and give me one word answers, but I was just like so excited. I thought I'm soaking this up. No matter what happens today, I'm enjoying this. Set off first mile. I get to do 7:50. 7:55 was my mile. I think my first one was like 7:19 or something. Caught up in excitement, reined it back a bit, but what I did thought, see that first mile, I knew I was doing that day. I knew
Yeah.
I was getting my time. That 7:19, I think it was, felt like a 9 minute mile.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was like
Just had that feeling like I'm on this. That's the work as well, though. That can only come through the confidence and the work that you've done.
absolutely. And then I just got to maybe through mile 20, 21, where somebody in the train that I was talking to had said when she did it the previous year, that's a bit Canary Wharf, that's a bit she hated, all that. So I built myself up that this bit's going to be bad. I loved it.
That's where all the run crews. So I had
Uh-huh.
Beth and Taylor Swain on, and also the Emancipated Run Crew. That's where all their crews go for like pure carnival atmosphere for their clubs.
There was not, so I'd learned my lesson for Stirling not to have earphones, so I would never do a marathon without having earphones. However, I did not hear one song that full
Yeah.
marathon. The support never ended, and I'd watched YouTube, clips galore of people doing London Marathon and thought there must be the odd wee pocket, there might be the odd wee pocket of quietness. Absolutely not.
No.
It was amazing, so good.
It's going to be a big difference for me coming from Edinburgh, where the support was brilliant, but in sections, and
Uh-huh.
then you get those dead zones, and they can be like miles long, and that
Uh-huh.
can be very very hard to tune and tune back out because then actually coming back up Edinburgh, you were there, you were running the half, big
Yep.
group of Newton people running the half, but I actually was so locked into music at that point because I'd been running myself for like a good 20, 30 minutes that I
Mm-hmm.
was nearly by everybody by the time I clocked that you're sure I was gone by that point. And you could,
Yeah.
so you're dipping in, dipping out. I found that quite a struggle. So I'm hoping, I think my plan is to have headphones, but not particularly. I'm
Uh-huh.
hoping I don't need to use them.
I know it's handy just to have them. I mean, again, when I do London this year, I'll still put them on because that's just part of my kind
Aye,
of
what you
attire,
do.
my attire now. So I would never go without them for such a long race, just in case I do hit some rocky bottom,
Yeah.
pit that I feel I need to get myself out of this. The one thing I would say how busy it was when you were running, particularly the wave I was in. You to always watch your footing that you weren't clipping them these heels,
Yeah, I was going
which
to ask
actually,
about that.
but you know what? That's what I think made the miles pass because you were concentrating. I wasn't concentrating and looking at my pace, my watch, or anything like that. I was concentrating my footing, seeing people. I knew obviously I had support there, my husband, the kids, Craig, Lawton's wife. There was people I knew were going to be there. I saw my husband when I was by him at one point. He's seen me 3 times, but it's that busy
Yeah.
and overwhelming that you don't actually see because the support is like five deep.
Is it that kind of concentration and switched on thing for the whole time? Like, are you still, are you halfway through that and still like in danger of running up people's heels, or does it ever open out?
No, I felt as
Because
though it
you're
was.
running quick, like you're
Uh-huh.
obviously running
Hmm.
a quick time, so you would be in the top, certainly probably 20%, 10% for females running.
Uh-huh. I would say that it was pretty tight for the the majority of it. Maybe just maybe back from about mile 20, probably was a wee bit broader, and then the
Yeah, but
last
that's a
bit.
long way.
The kind of bit at the end where it's Big Ben and the London Eye. As much as I would love to say these sites were great at the end, never even noticed them.
Just looking at your
You're
feet.
exhausted, too busy. You've got one thing, and I think it was at mile. I struggled from mile 23. My bib had became. It was hanging on with one pin because the rain had been so heavy.
Yeah,
So I stopped and pinned that back on. Walked for 10 seconds. Loved the walk. Right at mile 23. Very very short. And I promised myself, see mile 24, you can have 10 steps. See mile 25, you can have 10 steps.
yeah,
And this is how I got myself through those last few miles. And Joanna Wallace, one of our training partners for the club, mile 25, hot me in the back to say, keep going. I was like, I was allowed this 10 seconds. Well, she
I know.
didn't
You're
know
like,
that
I
part.
planned this.
But it was exceptional.
They are the stories you tell yourself, though, aren't they? When you're going through, I got there in Edinburgh. I'm like, because everything's through your head from DNF into just run. Like, even if you
Mm-hmm.
pass out, keep running. But if you do this, you can do that. If you do this, you allow yourself that. You just start making me
Absolutely.
deals with yourself, whatever it takes.
100%. That's exactly what I was doing. And I do, think I also knew I was well within the time that I wanted. But don't get me wrong, everything about timing does go a bit out the window near that end of the
Yeah.
marathon. It's just about getting to the end.
But you also don't want to give up the time that you've earned, if that makes sense. Like,
Uh-huh.
I was still on for my B goal the same, but
Hmm.
I knew actually, okay, if you take another stop to walk at all or stop at a drink stop, even for 10 seconds, you're going to put yourself in danger of giving up the
Yep.
B goal. And
Yep.
but it's so appealing, especially once you've walked a few
Hmm.
steps once. It's like, oh, I could do that again because that felt
That was
great.
nice.
It's so nice.
Absolutely. But anyway, I did get the A goal, so I got my 3 hours 28.
Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
got so I was delighted. I did struggle after I finished because I'd got so wet. Body did get a bit of shock. Managed to get my bag. Phoned Jenna, as we do. Me and her at this time with marathons, we always phone each other after it, or if we're not already at the marathon, to see each other. I was crying. I was overcame with emotion. Everything was hurting. I was delighted. Didn't know where to go, didn't know where my husband was, but to meet at for Monday because the people that were doing London Marathon were people that I go to a Monday night session, so we were going to
Yeah,
meet at the later I couldn't have told you what later was and
no.
where it was. So all I did was keep walking up to Trafalgar Square, saw a seat outside Cafe Nero, and sat and chattered away to my husband found me. And by that time, my lips were blue. I was really, really struggling.
Aye, just hit your limit.
He got me a coffee. He also had my electrolyte that he was meant to give me during the marathon, which obviously never couldn't get to me because it was so busy. So I drank a coffee, and I was absolutely fine. My daughter helped me peel the soaking wet vest, get something dry and warm on, and then that was me. I was happy as.
Before we move off London, we are both doing it this year. Expectations going in for you? What are you? I know how you're wired, but is it like to better it again? Is it to do it differently?
No, I think I would probably do exactly the same. I don't know if I could be shelling any more minutes off. I think I've maybe kind of peaked at time. As far as I know, you could, but I'm not willing to completely change my life to become like an elite. I like my wee Prosecco, I like my wee Chinese. I will train really hard for that pocket of time and, go and give it a real good go. If I get another wee minute off, I would be absolutely delighted. But the main aim is to just go and enjoy it. Again, there's quite a lot for the club doing it, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it's great.
So go and enjoy it with them. And it might be different weather. I mean, we had it torrential rain, literally the whole thing. There's been times when it's exceptionally hot, so you just need to wait on the day.
Yeah. I like that though. I like the bit up front of saying, not that you've peaked, because you might have, you might not have, whoever knows, until you keep going. But inside, I'm thinking probably you've not, because I know what you're like. But also, you're absolutely right, to kick on to another proper level, you need to change something in your training. So as long as your expectations meet your training and say, well, this is what I'm happy training, so this is what I'm happy doing, you're going to have a great time either way, as long as you can keep that perspective.
Yeah. And I wasn't like, because I did London, and I'm very much like, I think everybody should get a wee shot at doing London. And I do feel maybe a wee bit kind of, should I be getting another place? Wish I could give it to somebody that would love that place as well.
Good for age is different though, Joanne. You're like, that's earned. So,
but I also hate myself. I would get major FOMO, and because so many from the club are going, I want to be there to help them, guide them, and be part of that exciting group.
Also, at this point, you won't do this, but I'll say it for you. Think about what you give back to that running community, your own running community, but more generally. If anybody's earned these types of opportunities, it's the people that give up their time at grassroots level for absolutely zero reward other than to do it. So it's like, there's nobody could ever begrudge. It's easy to begrudge people a place when you're not getting yours, but you can't begrudge people that are giving up so much on a regular basis. So no, you take it, you run with it, and you enjoy every minute. Brings us on to what I suppose we wanted to line up the episode for. Newton Roadrunners put on a 10k road race. Has that been every year? Since when? Tell me about the history of the race, because I only know of the last one because I did it.
Okay, so we talked about doing our own race years gone past, that we would, and we did do it when Jenna was president. We did it for a charity, just by a stopwatch many years ago. That was even actually, we were still UK Run Chat. We weren't even Newton Roadrunners then. But it was still a fun event. It was literally just people in the club and a few people in the local community. It wasn't a big competitive race. It was something we talked about over the course of the last few years. And then it kind of really decided to do one because unfortunately we lost one of our members back August 2021, Cat Gaskell. She'd only been with us roughly about 6 months in the club, but within that 6 months she was a very big part of our club. This was at a time when we were doing all virtual kind of races. We would go and do the 3k virtual, 3k in the green. We would do that because you could do that at any time. Obviously, Friday afternoon doesn't suit any of us majority of the time. So it was good that we could actually be part of this because it was a virtual. So Kat get involved in that. She also was raising money for, it was actually Macmillan cancer. And it was because a friend of hers had breast cancer and she was raising funds for that. So she had decided to do this challenge where it was a half marathon and then a cycle. And I did half of the half marathon with her till she met up with her dad, who then cycled the other half to keep her going. And then she was going to be doing London in the October. But unfortunately, she took her own life in the August, which was an absolute shock. Kat, again, the way I talked about Jenna having this infectious personality, so did Kat. She had such a big beaming smile, lovely, lovely girl. She was a GP doctor, so having one of them in the team is definitely something that we all loved. I remember messaging her because I stood in a nail doing the garden. What advice did I need to go and get a tetanus jag, all that kind of stuff. So it was great.
That's your best chance of getting a GP appointment these days.
Absolutely. So it was having this friend that that I had that knowledge. And she was just a lovely, lovely girl. And then it was a Sunday. I remember it so clearly. I was up East Kilbride shopping, and we've got a group chat for the running club, and somebody put on. Then he saw this, and it was a picture on social media that Cat Gaskell had gone missing. Again, still very much, you see a lot of these missing, posts, and the next thing they've been found at home. So I didn't actually feel exceptionally worried. And then as time kind of passed, the search was kind of called off that night and to start again the next day. And in the Monday she was found, unfortunately, and she'd passed away. So we were devastated because it was during COVID. When I spoke about having this group A, B, and C, Cat was in the group A, so not everybody knew Cat very well because we were still in kind of COVID waves.
Yeah, so there hadn't been as much face to face.
Yeah, but what happened, I think, with that was having this smaller group, we actually all became even closer. So
she was also known. I'm just going to step in, give you a different perspective here, because I ran the race, the Newton race. I'd been kind of a wee bit in the wilderness with my running. Did that 10k, did that Bodwell 5k. Met the Newton people and said, right, I'm going to do the Newton 10k, see if I can get my finger out, build these distances up. And I turned up on the day and I knew a few people. I knew Natalie. Some of your newest members at that time, actually, Natalie Thomas I'd met through parkrun. So people that I'd known, that probably gave me the kick in the bum to go. I'm like, they're new. This might be a good time for me to join because there's clearly some new people that I would start at the same time. So I came to the race and you spoke on that day, and that was a difficult thing. I could see you didn't need to know you particularly well to know how emotionally challenging that was, but it was keenly felt by, you could see how keenly it was felt by people involved in the club. And I think there's that almost family type atmosphere in Newton Road Runners where deeply affected people, it's the strength of the club but also carries a real probably weight for the likes of yourself that were close. But I met Katrina Nisbet, who's also a GP. Katrina runs with a different running club, and I met her walking up. I'd met her at Parkrun a few times, and she didn't know Cat particularly well, but see, like you're saying there, even the people that didn't know her particularly well knew of the personality, knew of what she was like, and she spoke so glowingly of her, and she turned up at the race for that. So I could tell just in how much regard she was held in. And you've put that race on, and I know that you did things at the club to address maybe some of those core issues in and around mental health. Can you talk a wee bit about that?
Yeah, obviously this totally shocked us all, and the first thing when something like this happened, what could we have done? Could we have changed it?
Were there signs and things you naturally ask yourself?
Absolutely. So, and we don't know if we ever could, but anyway, what we thought was, what's a way that we could try and help the club for anything like this that might happen in the future. So all the coaches went on a mental health first aid course, which was really, really good, really insight to all the different mental health things that you can come against. I didn't realise, how many different avenues that there is from it. So it did give us all maybe a wee bit more confidence, and maybe we sometimes just don't want to invade in people's privacy. If they're not managing to get to the club, you're thinking, oh, they must be just busy. Send them a wee message, there could be more going on. Or when you're running, sometimes the running, you tell somebody that you're running with more information than you would tell sometimes your husband or your wife. Because just at that moment it all comes out. So just be that open person that you can chat. So we all got training for that, and I think we feel maybe a bit more confident, that we can support people. And then we wanted to raise money, but also we've got a relationship with Cat's family, our mum and dad and our two sisters. And when we did the race the first year, which was the November, just after, I think we went to October that year, just after Cat had passed away, and we just did it. It wasn't a proper timed event, it was just a stopwatch, and we were absolutely over the moon of the support from the running community. Calder Glen Harriers, Cambuslang Harriers, all showing their support.
It's a tight-knit community. People rally around, and you've done a great job as a club in fostering an atmosphere where people celebrate your wins with you, but they'll also go through some of those rough and tumble moments that people have in their life.
Absolutely. So they just all turned like that. We just paid £10 on the day, and we donated the whole lot of money to the mental health charity that Cat's family had wanted. We also sent some to Macmillan, because we felt we wanted to pick up where Cat never managed to maybe finish our fundraising that she had started. And then we realised that, it was something that is, for something that was so sad and tragic, there can be goodness brought from this, that bringing all these running communities together, highlighting mental health, and just having an actual real social day. So we know there's race calendars jam-packed, there's loads of races, right? I want to say that ours has just got that wee bit different, because we have it at Saturday at midday, which is completely different. And the reason we do that is because we still want our people to do their park run volunteering and their park run running that they always do. We don't want to put people in a position where they have to make that choice. We also want to have it then, because races are always Sunday. Most people work Monday to Friday. And the Saturday afternoon, we all go to our Newton Arms, and we held a big raffle. And running's more than just the actual physical act of running. It's about that socialising, bringing people together, share their stories about Cat, share their stories about their own experiences, whether it be running, whether it be things about the kids, whatever their worries, but just for it to be this big event that's not just about, go and give it your best shot, get a PB, that's brilliant, but it's more than just about your PB. It's more than just a trophy to win. It's about bringing all these running communities and all these people together.
Amazing. And so there you go, people. Joanne not only plans her own running round a hangover, she plans your races for you around your future hangover you didn't know you were going to have. So yeah, I put actually a wee reel together to share the other night from one of our club runs to say the 3 reasons you should join the race, and the third one was the Newton Arms, because I knew it would feature. I don't even drink anymore, but I still know that's a major draw of the race. But part of today's episode is to help get that word out. So if you're on the fence, now there's things going on in the running community in and around that week. Glen Ogle is the week before, so I know a lot of the podcast community are doing that. There's like a sizable number, ultra. But this is, I suppose, what I want to get out there. If you can make that next week, it doesn't need to be a PB race for you. Go and make it a social event, get together. If you can't run it, if your legs are fried, I'm sure all the volunteers in the world will be useful to us, and let as many of the club people run as possible.
The other good thing we're quite well known for is we give good prizes, not prizes, goodies at the end of our race. So last year, I think we're one of the first races that gave out a nice bobble hat. Everybody got a bobble hat that completed. Well, this year we are giving out the fancy socks, the yellow and black Newton Order colours, but it's the shoe. Shoe, socks, and everybody that's runners and into all their gear will know that these are a fantastic thing to get as a goodie.
And I think Lululemon are chucking a couple of prizes in as well. I spoke to them about that. So
that's one thing. We hold a big raffle up the Newton Arms afterwards, and the prizes we get donated last year, pizza ovens and massages. We're really overwhelmed. We just need the same again this year.
I need to hurry up and get my raffle for London done before that raffle happens. You're going to steal my thunder. Can't have you come in and one-upping me. I'm hoping to get my London fundraising done before any of that kicks off.
It's quite apt this year that actually the date that it falls on is Remembrance Day. So there's something quite nice about that it's fallen on, because it is all about remembering Cat and obviously bringing a community together. But it's on Remembrance Day.
Yeah, so folks, if you can get there, please step up, do it, spread the word, share the message. Even if you can't make it on the day, get it into sort of your clubs, your groups, because the more the merrier. And it's the proceeds of it, anything raised charity wise, the raffle, it's not just a financial thing, it's the best legacy and memory that you can give to somebody who made a big impact in the club in a short amount of time. Joanne, as a listener, you know what we finish the show with. We've got the quickfire questions, and then I'm going to get from you your track for the Press Play and Run playlist on Spotify. You've had more time than most to think about these because you've been listening to the pod. I hear you rocking up, and you've actually got me in your ears when you rock up to a lot of our sessions. So I'm expecting some high quality answers for you.
On your marks, get set, go!
Favourite running shoe of all time?
Vaporflies, Nike.
Favourite training route?
Definitely Clyde Path, marathon laps.
Done it often enough. Proudest running moment?
So hard. I would probably say Edinburgh Marathon 2018 when I got 3:49.
Favourite podcast?
I've got to say Press Play Run because it's the only one I listen to.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you're not allowed it, but if it's the only one you listen to, you can have it. Worst race or running experience?
It would probably be the Great North Run a couple of years ago. Absolutely hated it. Died a death. Don't know. That was just my worst experience.
It's on today as we record.
I know, quite fitting actually.
We'll see how they got on.
So much so that I would never want to get back and do it. However, it was an alternative route the year that I did it. It was just running along a motorway. Hated it.
I've never actually gone in the ballot. It's not one that holds much interest. I don't know why. It's just never really appealed. Go-to pre-long run meal?
Definitely pasta.
If you could run alongside yourself as a beginner runner, what advice would you give to yourself?
Slow down. See if you can't talk, you're running too fast. You'll get faster, but just slow down. Do it at easier pace.
One inspirational Instagram profile you never skip by, or Facebook if you prefer.
It's easy. Eilish McColgan. Absolutely love her. And I've met her in person and she's lovely. So nice and takes the time to chat to you. So I met her at the Scottish Athletics Awards last year. Yeah. Me and Beth were a wee bit like schoolgirls, a bit giddy.
Fangirling it.
Up getting a picture, whatever. But she was so lovely, so chatty. But I love her Instagram because she tells you all the things you want to know out with just about pace and running. She shows you into the living quarters when you go to the European Championships and all the different outfits she got to race in. And so I love hearing all that gossip as well.
Well, next time you speak to your pal, see if you can get her to come on, right?
I'll ask her.
Run with or without music? Know the answer to this one.
I would definitely say with in a long run, run myself, but I love running with people and chatting, so probably 50-50. But if I was racing, because I'm not going to be chatting with people, I shouldn't be chatting because I should be using all my energy for running, I would have earphones. Favourite park run? This is so hard. I feel like if you're 50-50 here. I'm going to say Strathclyde because it's my PB one. Everybody's so friendly, but I do love Tollcross. I do.
Yeah, the club has quite a special relationship with Tollcross as well. Yeah. But it's hard to love it. It's like a child, you should love it, but sometimes it can be challenging, like those hills. Finish this sentence. I press play and run because
I enjoy running and I love getting faster and achieving things and making amazing friends through it.
Good enough reasons. Final order of business. You know how tragically bad our running playlist is and how hard I'm working to try and restore some credibility to it. So I've got high hopes for you here, Joanne. What track are you going to give us that wouldn't normally come out of your running rotation? Okay, 100%. This is a classic. TTF, the Time Frequency, Keep Holding On. This is the kind of bammy tunes I was expecting from the beginning. TTF, Keep Holding On. When you've got lyrics like blood pumping, nothing's going to hold me down, all that kind of stuff. It just makes you, see for a race, it totally makes you, hope the pain is worth it, is one of the lyrics in it. So, I'm going to when you're having those conversations about should I walk or run, they're the kind of tunes that can help just keep you going for another K, another K. Absolutely. Joanne, you've been brilliant. You've been so open. I appreciate you speaking as well about probably one of the toughest moments the club will have had, and you personally will have had as club president. But there's learning in it for every day, and I think we need to be open enough to talk about them. So I appreciate you sharing your story with us, and I can't wait to spend some more time with you over the next kind of coming weeks and months and getting to London together and see what we can do. Perfect. Can't wait either. Great. Thanks so much, Ryan, for having me on and getting the chance to talk about the cat race and about the club. And we'll share that link. We'll get that link out there again with the episode. We'll get it shared through our club page and through the podcast page, and just keep pushing to try and get as many people there to celebrate Cat's life and celebrate with us on that day. Great. Brilliant. You. Thank you. Thanks. Right. Bye. Thank you to you, the listeners, for joining us for another episode of the Press Play and Run podcast. You can really help to support the podcast by subscribing or following on your podcast platform of choice and by leaving a review. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Press Play and Run Podcast and to add the Press Play and Run playlist on Spotify. We'll be back every 2 weeks with new episodes, and please be sure to keep an eye on our Instagram page to find out which guests will be joining us. Until then, keep getting the trainers on, press play and run.